Hello, this is Mark Tucker, and we are continuing with our series on creating a badge wrapper component for Alexa presentation language. Where we finished off last time was that we have all of our basic components in place to create the control, and we can kind of see where things are going. We've hard-coded red and the size of the frame. We've hard-coded the text value inside of there. And we've also defined a whole bunch of properties or parameters, things that we can set outside of our component. So these parameters will show up down here. So for example, badge text was one of those parameters. So inside our wrapper, we can set a number of different parameters, and it will set values, and that will be how the different badges look differently based on how we want to use them. And we didn't have to do anything to the wrapped control or the child control here. It's just whatever control it was before, and then we surround it with this wrapper and set some parameters on it. So that's what we're going to do here. And I could go through each one of these and kind of as we add things, but I think it's probably going to be faster if we just go ahead and add some things into it. And first thing I think I want to talk about is I'm just going to add this property, and then I'm going to kind of add the completed frame and text in there, and we'll talk about as we need to. But one of the things that we need to do is that anything that we add inside this frame, we're going to need to position kind of outside. And if you can imagine that this container, like behind this button, is just big enough to fit the button itself, or the same thing, just big enough to fit the button, big enough to fit this, And what we need to be concerned about is that when we add this frame, when we start positioning it relative to other things, we're going to actually make this frame absolutely positioned. And so that means that it's absolutely positioned within its parent container. But if we position it outside the border, or so it overlaps the border of that container, as far as I can tell, the only thing that it does is our option is that it clips it, and we don't want that. And so what we're doing is we're going to go ahead and add to this container. We're going to make it bigger. So what we're doing is we're adding padding to all sizes of it to be whatever the size of the badge is. So we're going to use the same badge size that we've passed up in here, and it's going to default to 50. So what we're saying is that we're going to take the whatever the container is, that's the size of the component that's being wrapped, and we're going to add a 50 dp border padding around the whole side of it, on all sides, and that way whenever we position it, then we could position it completely to the left, or completely to the top or bottom, or to the right, and it won't clip. So what we've basically done is, like, this component's here, but then we've added some padding around it. So we're going to add some padding around here, the same size as the frame, which is going to be our badge. So that's what that is doing. So let's go ahead and take this frame component here, and we're going to replace this here. All right, so you'll see a lot of things happened here, because what we ended up doing is down here we've said take everything as the default, and I want inside of here, I want it to be a question mark, right? Or we could do an exclamation point. So So it's using default values that we had set for what's the default badge color, the font color, font size, badge size, all that stuff, positioning. So that's kind of, we get that for, for free, basically. And then we could start customizing with different properties. But let's look at this component and understand what all the stuff that it's doing is. So here's the frame that we had before, and here's its child text component. And let's take the text first. So we're saying we're just mapping the badge text, whatever the value is, and this is using that $, curly braces, and then this parameter value. So whatever is getting set by default or getting passed in from the outer component down here is going to be set as the text for this button. Badge text color is mapped to color, badge font size is mapped to font size, badge font weight is mapped to, so we can look at the text property here. So like in the container, we can look at the text property. We can look at all the different properties that we want to surface, font size, font family we could surface, font style. There's different things that we can go ahead and surface on this component if we wanted to. And go back here. But these are the ones that I just chose to do. And what we're saying is that we want this text to take up 100% of the width and height of its parent frame. And the width and height of this frame is going to be that badge size. See, so that's matching the badge size that we set here. And we also set this as an absolute. And then these right, left, top, bottom is going to be what positions the location. And we want those to be set to null by default because I think in essence, if they're set to null, then they're inactive. And then we choose the two that we want as far as how we're positioning. If we want top left, bottom right, top left, bottom, top right, whatever. Probably got those wrong, but that's all right. So that's where all the positioning stuff's happening in conjunction with this position absolute here. So we also have, this is that part where we say if the badge text has a value or badge show badge always is true, then we're going to show. So this when has to do, whenever you see a when, it has to do with the whole component that's a part of it. You can have it at the top here, you could have it as the last thing at the bottom, it doesn't matter. But it's just saying show the frame and any of the frame's children only when there is text passed into badge text or you set show badge always to true. All right, so that's where that comes in. And then the rest of these are pretty simple as well. The badge background color is going to map to the background color of the frame. Same with the radius, the color, and the border width. And then up here you can see where, this is defaulted to false. These are default to null. These are different sizes. Our default badge border and text color is white. Here's the red that we're seeing here. So those are all the different things that we're seeing. So that looks like that's pretty good. I don't know that there's really anything else that we need to talk about other than the implementation of it. So I think we'll do one more video and we'll go through now how to use this component because it's a complete component at this point. The biggest part here is the badge wrapper. Just remember we've got the badge wrapper children, which is whole purpose is to be the wrapper control, and this is finally where the child component is going to be surfaced, but it's just being then contained inside this badge wrapper that has all of these different parameters that we can use to control it, and then we only show the badge wrapper for item if we've passed in an item, or we use items, which is the case which we do, and only show the frame when there's badge text or badge show badge always. And that's it. That is the component part. So we'll wrap this up in the next video. Thank you.